If you are in a season right now in trading that simply feels like you're isolated, it feels like you're in a place right now where you kind of feel lost. You kind of have a sense of what you need to do, but you're a little bit uncomfortable about doing the thing you need to do. Like, you know that in order for you to be successful, you have to get to a certain level or be at a certain place. But yet, you feel like every time you try to get to that place or every time you try to get to that next step, there's always a hindrance. And oftentimes, I'm learning that the hindrance is not an outside force, but oftentimes the hindrance is us. We are oftentimes the one that's stopping us from being the trader that we need to be. So if you are in that season right now where you kind of feel like you're on this testing ground or this isolation ground of trading, this video is for you. See, in this video, I am going to give you the key to being a successful trader. I want to read you a story today that's going to absolutely change your life for the rest of your life, right? We're going to read from Matthew 14, verse 15 through 21. All right, so verse 15 through 21. Now, let's get some context, right? This is the time where Jesus is in Bethsaida and he is about to feed the 5,000 people. Now, I know you've probably heard this story before, but have you ever seen it in this way? So let's begin to do this thing, all right? And when it was evening, his disciples came to him saying, "This is a desert place, and the time is now. Send the multitude away that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals." They're saying, look, let's go to the village and let's buy some food, right? They're hungry. The people are hungry. But Jesus said unto them, "They need not to depart. Give ye them to eat." And they say unto him, "We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, "Bring them hither to me." And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. And looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake and gave the loaves to his disciples and the disciples to the multitude. All right. And they all did eat and were filled, and they took up the fragments that remained, 12 baskets full. And they had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. So look, now we're going to jump to this whiteboard because I want to show you how this section, this whole teaching right here shows us how we can become better traders. And when God revealed this to me, it literally was, I could not shake it. So I'm so excited let's get to it. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to see this in a 2-part segment, right? I want us to focus on the disciples, but then also we're going to focus on Jesus. All right. Let's pretend right now we are the disciples. All right. So we are the disciples and the people. And of course, Jesus is Jesus. Okay. So look, as we can see on verse 15, it says, "And when it was evening, his disciples came to him saying, 'This is a desert place.'" All right. So oftentimes in scripture, the desert represent a place of isolation, right? That is a place where a lot of testing, it's like the testing ground, right? And many of us as traders are sitting in a desert place right now. It's like the testing ground. We're not in nowhere. We're not anywhere right now where we want to be. It is not comfortable here. It doesn't feel good here because it is the place of desert. Let's just say this on this left side is traders, right? This is us, y'all. I'm in this category. Maybe you're in this category. This is us as traders, okay? And let's just say we're in the desert. So what represents us right now? If you are in a desert place, all right, so the desert. So right now, this is a location. Again, this is a place where it is isolation. It is uncomfortable. You are not at the place you want to be as a trader. So look, next thing. So we understand that, again, many of us as traders are in this uncomfortable situation. I think it's so fascinating that in verse 15, it gives us, it's literally a 3-part segment just in that one verse, right? So what we're seeing first, again, is our desert place. That is our location right now. That is a place where we're just simply I'm not going to say resting in, but we're kind of uncomfortable in, right? We don't want to be in this particular place at the moment. But as you continue with the same verse, it says, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away. So let's just restart. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him saying, this is a desert place, and the time is now. Send the multitude away. All right. Look, oftentimes when we get into places that are uncomfortable, the thing that we want to do is leave, right? And oftentimes what happens is we get distracted. All right. So because we are in an uncomfortable place and the time is taking too long. So how many of you are like right now as a trader, you thought you would be so much more better at this point than you were thinking about in the past? Like you thought by the time you were this age, you're going to be this good. That you, at the time you was this age, you're going to be this rich. Or at the time when I turned 30, I thought I'll have this. When I've been trading for 5 months, 5 years, I thought I'd be at this place. And so what we do is we get distracted, right? That's what we do. So as traders, what do we do whenever we get into a desert place? We oftentimes, it's a system, y'all. This is literally a system. And my marker is going out. Oh my God. Distracted. Okay, so that's the next thing. So from the desert place, we get distracted, right? We get distracted. And so what we do is we decide to leave. And that is what you see now. And so what they're saying, so the disciples is saying, look, let's leave. Let's go to the place that is where we can buy food. Let's go to the traditional place. Let's go to the place where we know that we're going to be okay in, right? The place that's comfortable. Right? That's what we want to do. That is what the desert oftentimes create. That is why the desert is the testing ground, because that is the place where it's so easily to get tempted to run away, to go to a place that is comfortable, right? Now, I want us to understand, if you are hungry, let's not take this out of context, right? Let's not take this out of context. If you are hungry, yes, your first thought is going to go somewhere to get some food. But I want us to focus on the application of this towards us as traders, but also seeing what's within just this whole teaching, this whole story that's in the Bible. Okay, and it says, "But Jesus said unto them, they need not to depart. Give ye them to eat." Which is so fascinating. Jesus is telling the disciples to give them food to eat. But yet the disciples doesn't understand, how can I give them something that I don't have? Right? So this is what leads them to say, and they say unto him, we have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Next thing the disciples worry about is their lack thereof. Their lack. The disciples are now focusing on what they have, but also what they don't have. So their response to Jesus is, look, we only have 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Right now, as a trader, how many times do you think of what you just have? I only have this much. I don't have this much to make a real weekly income or a real monthly income. I only have this computer. I don't have the computer that have all these different screens and all these different setups. And so what you're doing is you're starting to focus on what you don't have. And that is what the disciples is doing. Now, it is true. What they have is what they have, right? But see, they wasn't seeing the most important thing. And that's what I want you guys to see today. I want you to begin to see the most important thing. Because oftentimes what we see is only what we have tangible in our hands. But we have to begin to see the one that is the source, the one that's able to provide it all for us. All right. So look, again, this is it. We have us as traders. In the desert place. The desert place leads to distraction, and oftentimes the distraction leads us to think about our lack, to give up. That's when we decide to do things that tarnish our accounts. That's when we decide to do things that we know we're not supposed to do because we're trying to get over the lack. We're trying to get away from the lack, right? So this is us as traders. We're no different than the disciples that were out there that day with Jesus. All right. But now let's focus on Jesus. All right. Let's focus on Jesus. This is us. But now let's begin to focus on a different outcome, right? A different thing, right? So over here, I'm going to write Jesus. Over on this side is Jesus. Now we're going to focus on what Jesus says in response to the disciples saying that we are in a desert place. Our focus now is not on us, not on our season that we're in, but our focus is going to be on the one that is actually the most important thing about this whole thing, right? He says in verse 16, but Jesus said unto them, they need not depart. Give ye them to eat. Jesus, at this moment, is teaching us, listen, you don't have to leave. You don't have to quit. You don't have to go out and go do the traditional thing that the world tells you have to do. You can begin to use your gifts and your skills to create in you an opportunity. Now, remember, the desert place oftentimes tempts us to go do the thing. Remember, the disciples were telling everyone, look, go and go get your own food. Go and buy your food. But Jesus is saying, no, they don't have to leave. Listen, the Lord knows what's inside of you because he planted the thing that's inside of you. So if you know that you've been praying about trading and you know that God has given you a vision and an aspiration and a desire about this whole trading thing, of course, seek the Lord first, right? But if you know that this is a place that you belong in, and whenever you step into your desert place, if you're in your desert place right now, this is you don't have to depart. You don't have to leave because you're in an uncomfortable place. See, Jesus is telling the disciples, look, give them food. And I know for the disciples, it's like, yo, we only got this amount of food. There's no way we can feed those people with this amount of food. But Jesus is teaching us in this moment to not focus on our lack, but he's teaching us to focus on the source. And so he's speaking to the disciples in a way of like they have authority, but it's not authority in them, but through him, they now have the ability to do the impossible. Again, not through their own power, but because who was with them and who's with you, right? So what is Jesus teaching us? Even in the place of the desert, to focus on him. Focus on him. Boom. So Jesus is teaching us in the place of a desert, focus on him. Okay? So next segment, what is the next thing that Jesus says? He says, and they say unto him, we have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He says, bring them hither to me. Bring them to me. Bring what you have to God. Bring what you have to the Lord. Whatever your skill set is, whatever amount of money you have, listen, give that to God. And I know the question is, well, how do I give that to God? Begin to honor God in what you have. Begin to honor God in your trading. Begin to trust in God. Begin to give your skill sets, right? The amount of money, begin to pray and invite God in. Trade in a way that yields to God. So the next thing that Jesus says, we're starting at verse 17, and they say unto him, we have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He says, bring them hither to me. Listen, Jesus desires everything that you have right now. All your trading aspirations, all your ideas, all your dreams, all your finances, the Lord is asking for them all. He's asking for them all. So what do we see here? Focus on him, give him what's his. We're going to type, give him what's his. Listen, instead of you being distracted by the world, right? Begin to just simply give it to God. Now, once you give it to the God, you don't have to give it to God. You don't have to now be like distracted about what you should do, how I should do it. No, Lord, I'm going to begin to yield to you and give you everything. I'm going to give you my setups. I'm going to pray about my strategy. I'm going to give you and pray about my rules. I'm going to invite you in on every single day that I trade. I'm going to invite you in when I put money in the account. I'm going to invite you in when I'm setting up my strategies and setting up my rules. I'm going to begin to ask you and yield to you and ask for wisdom and discernment and understanding about different things, right? Let's start there. Let's begin to give it all to God. All right. Now, here is where it all comes together, though. This is going to be so important. After Jesus says, "Look, give it to me," he then commands the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed it and broke it and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. Listen. The next thing that we see is this. We see obedience. We see obedience. Jesus commands the multitude to sit down on the grass. He didn't say, look, stand up. He didn't say, go run on the grass. He told them to sit down on the grass. Listen, a simple commandment, a simple word from God, and you being obedient to him can be the difference between you receiving what you've been asking or you not getting anything, right? How often have the Lord has told you what you should be doing and you're not doing it? How often has God told you to stick to your rules? You felt the conviction in your heart, but yet you decided, I'm not going to do it and I'm going to chase greed, right? How often have you, as the Lord said, listen, take this trade. This trade is for you, and you felt it in your spirit. This is for me, and you didn't take it, and it went your way. I want us to begin to become obedient in our space of trading, and I know it can be difficult. Right? Because it's dealing with finances. But that just goes back to us trusting in God even in our finances. And we see that when the people was obedient, Jesus turned a few into a lot. He was able to feed the multitude of people by a little bit. So do not despise your little bit, because the Lord, Christ, is able to turn your little bit into a whole lot. So what is the key for you getting out of a place of a desert? What is the key for you getting to the next level? What is the key for you to excel and not only excel, but to have peace and to have joy while you're excelling? To be able to just to sit back and to be obedient. What is the key? What is the key to all that? The key is this. The key is yielding to Christ. This is the key that will get you to the next level. Yielding to Christ. He has the answers. If you and I will begin to honor God every day that we trade, if we begin to think more about God than the trade, to make sure that when we step into the arena of trading, that our hearts are clear, our minds are clear, that we have things written down, that we have our rules written down, and that we honor God in those things, how far would you be by now? If you was honoring God months ago, years ago, how far would you be in trading right now? Now just think about that for a moment. And the way that you honor God is by simply being obedient. And like the way that we honor God in trading is by being obedient. Okay. And again, that's real life as well. But in trading, be obedient. Be obedient to the law, your trading law, your trading rules. That will change the game forever. When I look back and I see how many mistakes I did in the past, where I could be at today in just this space of trading, if I was just honoring God more in my trading, if I didn't chase that trade, if I didn't break that rule, if I didn't let it affect my emotions, if I begin to literally yield to God and say, Lord, I trust you in this, that whether it goes my way today or it doesn't go my way today, I trust you. Whether I have a profitable day or I had a negative day, I trust you. That in the end, it will be for my good. That in the end, I will grow in my finances. Listen, if this is for you, if this video was for you today, please comment. Let me know if it blessed your life. Listen, when I read this today, and I want you guys to read this as well. When I read this, I had to share this with you because it absolutely blessed my life. All right, so look, God bless you, and I cannot wait to talk to y'all again. Bye.